In this video, we will be reflecting on Nighttime My Time, in my new series where we pick albums that were super popular on Tumblr in the 2010s and tackle the nostalgia. Let's see if it's as good as we remember. This is Tumblr retrospective on the current. Editor retrospective here. It's been a while since I filmed, so just a heads up, I look down a lot in this video. I realized working with a script in the way that I did doesn't work for me. However, the video's still interesting, I promise. So just so you know, let's start. Sky Ferreira is a 32-year-old singer, actress, and model, famous for her songs Everything is Embarrassing and You're Not the One. In 2013, she released her album Nighttime My Time, but didn't end up releasing another full-length album after that. Ferreira was a Tumblr it girl, as we like to look back on it. For those who spent countless hours on the site in the pale grunge era, will certainly recognize her face. She also did campaigns for brands like Calvin Klein, Adidas, and Jimmy Choo. Recently, Pop Base reported on her comeback, where she would be releasing her long-awaited sophomore album Masochism, along with a tour and bigger production. But what happened in between? She's pretty much only released songs, her second to last being Don't Forget in 2022. Then we had Downhill Lullaby in 2019, and she also did a song for Edgar Wright's Baby Driver in 2017. Sky had been inactive for a very long time, and after a very long wait, fans took matters into their own hands. In an interview with Variety, Elise Schaefer writes, "News of Ferreira's departure from Capitol came as fans began rallying around her, mounting a public campaign to release her from her contract. They even purchased a digital billboard in Times Square that read, 'Free Sky Ferreira.'" Sky mentions in the interview, "I think that's really the only way I was able to somewhat get out, because it put a lot of pressure on them to at least drop me, even though they did it in the most fucked up way." She claims that the label wouldn't let her leave until the 10-year anniversary of Nighttime My Time in October 2023, and dropped her, literally to the day, in an email on the weekend. "It felt weirdly personal, you know, like a conspiracy, but it was real," she says, adding that it felt like she was slowly being erased before being dropped. "There's so many things about it that are just so wrong on so many levels." It seems the delays unfortunately also come from health issues, and she mentions in an interview with The Guardian in 2022 she has chronic health issues including scoliosis and Lyme disease. During a medical for a film role, the doctor pointed out that she had a long-term broken rib. She intended to release Masochism before addressing her huge uterine fibroids, but ultimately delayed working on the music to get surgery, and is glad that she did. "I'm more just frustrated about the gaps in between my records, and I got robbed of my 20s. At the time, Rolling Stone listed Nighttime My Time as the 5th best debut album of 2013. Before I went back to listening, I wanted to write down what I remembered about the record. Personally, I love Everything is Embarrassing, and that phrase comes up in my mind from time to time. My other favorite songs were You're Not the One and Heavy Metal Heart. However, as of the writing of the script, I rarely revisit those songs. I remember at the time not being too impressed by the album, but I had given it a fair spin. I'm sure I will have a different perspective on the album now that I'm a little older, and Ferreira herself was in her early 20s. And when I'm talking about Tumblr to my friends, Ferreira certainly comes up, but I'm afraid she's more remembered for her looks than for her music. Before we get started, I want to talk about the album cover, which I find is often missing from reviews. It was unveiled by Ferreira on October 10th, 2013, and this is from Wikipedia. The artwork for Nighttime My Time was photographed by Argentine filmmaker Gaspar Noé at the Hotel Amour in Paris, who has directed such films as Enter the Void and Irreversible, and music videos for the likes of Animal Collective and Nick Cave. It depicts the close-up of a topless Ferreira wearing a cross necklace inside a green tiled shower. The artwork for the album on most streaming services is censored and does not show her breasts. The uncensored version is available on the cover of the vinyl release, which currently goes for up to $400 to $500 on eBay. And let's just talk about the cultural impact of this cover, well, at least on Tumblr. You are one of the girls if you were reblogging the version where she has her nipple exposed. It was just kind of, if you know kind of moment, but it's a beautiful cover. I really like it. Apparently, she originally considered using another picture for the album artwork and was additionally encouraged by her label to choose an older photograph where she was seen with long blonde hair, sitting on a bed looking cute, in a black dress looking pretty. Ferreira ultimately selected the topless image because she felt it more accurately reflected the nature of the record, which is true. I love the colors, I like this cover, and it actually looks the way the album sounds. After my revisit of this album, I can say this album is still good. My favorite songs are Everything is Embarrassing and You're Not the One and I Blame Myself. My older age has now granted me new favorites, which are 24 Hours and Love in Stereo. There's definitely something on this album for everyone. I think there was a lot of bands and artists trying to emulate this depressive, dark mood around the time. And Sky is actually one of those artists to fully make it her own and shine. She's a fantastic vocalist, her voice is very nice to listen to, and her range is also very present on this album. Sky comes most into her own when she's trying on that 80s sound with the drum patterns, synths, fade outs, and catchy hooks like on 24 Hours and Love in Stereo, making Madonna being her big influence very obvious. However, we also have outliers like the title track, which emulates this kind of early old J vibe. And we have Omanko, which is mostly a song to be played live, has lyrics that are very nonsensical. I think it works. It's kind of a Christmas song that's not a Christmas song. And then we have Christine, which is one of those songs, if you put it on in front of your family members, they will tell you that your taste is very strange and that you need to turn it off, which I'm actually pretty sure has happened to me. But still, Christine being so edgy shows that her range is very, very wide. She's not afraid to experiment and show many different sides of herself. In that case, I think it was good that she had a lot of creative control over this album. And I can hear her self-sided perfectionism. She mentions in an interview, "I wasn't trying to change the world. I was trying to make something real. I believed in something and they wouldn't just let me go and do that. I just wanted to make the music that I knew would connect with a lot of people." However, there's a darker side to the making of this album. Sky ended up paying for the album with most of her own money that she made from modeling. The Hollywood Reporter wrote, she would put out the album in 2013 after several years of fighting with Capitol, only when she agreed to pay for much of it herself. After a host of creative disagreements in the early 2010s, Capitol went full-on vendetta, blocking her from doing press, paying no money for studio time or videos, telling radio programmers not to play her music, blackballing her with collaborators, and sitting on tracks simply to punish her. For years. If you take a look at the lyrics, 10 years old without a voice, I feel like nothing's really changed now, I'm just a little older, and nobody asked me if I was okay. I think in the end it ended up being a safe space for Tumblr users to be sad and to cope with the after effects of sexual assault, which many young women on the site have experienced, and Sky spoke to that. She says in this interview with The Guardian that was borderline mean. They portray her in a really negative way. She says they call her crazy. "I'm mentally ill, I'm difficult, I'm unprofessional. Oh, and I'm a drug addict." That's by far everyone's go-to. I think that still speaks to the Tumblr generation. I think at the time, all of us that were active on the platform knew we had some sort of toxic relationship with romanticizing depression, smoking, etc. Jordan Theresa has a video about this, which if you're interested, I will link down below. However, the fact that someone can listen to this album today and still relate to it speaks of its timelessness. Sky had a vision, she did it, and it's still good. I also think it's very interesting how what Sky wrote about on this album kind of ended up happening to her with her label. From the same Guardian interview after briefly talking about her arrest in 2013, she says, "Do the rules not apply to women like me?" She mentions Courtney Love and Fiona Apple, whom she admires, who experience similarly unpleasant coverage. "Troubled women, you can do whatever you want if they're not like, save me troubled." It was like the label almost wanted those things to be true about me, so they could exploit it and use them as ways to sell. It's truly a shame that the label fumbled her in the way that they did. I could easily see Sky Ferreira having reached similar career heights like Lorde or Lana Del Rey. The fact that the label saw her more as a Katy Perry just shows how much they didn't understand her and what she was trying to do in her career. Where is Sky now? From The Hollywood Reporter, though she came up with Charlie XCX and a host of young millennial stars in the cusp of streaming 2010s world, Ferreira has largely in the past few years exempted herself from that group. "People see me at a party and it's like they've seen a ghost," she says. Sky has since split from her label and is looking to release and tour Masochism in 2025. In the interview with The Hollywood Reporter, she says, "It was spiteful and it was personal. There was no reason to do any of it except to hurt me, and I think it was a way to fuck me. Even the timing of the contract dissolves," she says, "was deliberate. 10 years, almost to the day after release of Nighttime," which Ferreira believes was a form of "we own you" psychic torture, because she always told them she wanted to put up Masochism before the anniversary. There's enough in store for Sky Ferreira in 2025, besides the release of Masochism, a potential tour with a bigger production. Thank you for tuning in to Tumblr Retrospective on The Current. Next week, I will be revisiting I Love You by The Neighborhood, so if you would like to see that, please subscribe. And today, I'd like to thank you for watching. Bye. Editor Retrospective here. Thank you so much for watching. I completely forgot to mention that Sky has a new song out for Helena Rijn's Baby Girl. You heard a snippet of it on the last title card. Sky also mentioned it was therapeutic to release as she wrote it with the split from her label in the back of her mind. Please leave a comment and tell me what your favorite song from Nighttime is, and tune in next week for another video.